Okay, so in this series of videos, I'm going to explain how to set up a basic set of orthographic drawings for a site. And so basically the first thing you'll want to do is download on our D2L course site, your assignments under Project 2, you're going to want to download this folder, this zip file called Rhino file with inserted images. And I'm just going to click a little arrow and click download. Actually, I already have it downloaded, but once you've downloaded it, then you want to go to the folder that it downloaded it to. And before I open it, this is important because there are some images that I want to load when I open that file. So before I open it, I can just open this and go in here. But before I do that, I actually want to right click on the archive. I'm going to go to extract all, or whatever archive you use, or whatever software you use to deal with archives, you'll want to go ahead and extract it to a normal folder. So take it out of the archive. So there we go. We see we've made a new folder. If I go ahead and open up that folder, I'll have a Rhino file and a series of images. So those are those images. And as long as I've unzipped it or saved it normal folder, it should, when I open it in Rhino, it should load all these images if I want them. So you can just double click on this guy to open it. I already have a Rhino open, so open in the command line folder. Again, that's the unarchived folder. Okay, and so right away we should have provided for you a series of images that and lines that are already to scale and already appear, kind of organized by layer. There's a couple things here. If I select this image, for example, you'll notice in my properties menu where I have my properties menu, I can see what layer that's on. So if I go down in my layers panel, I can turn the layers on and off, but you'll also see that there are a few different layers of images. That's my kind of P2a maps graphic version of the map. And again, this layer begins to give me a sense of topography. You'll see these kind of more detailed topographic lines. And you'll also see a little bit of like kind of shading, grayscale and shading. You'll see like there, we can start to see the landform in greater detail than just our line drawings will illustrate. We also have more zoomed in images of each particular site. So this is like higher resolution for each site that we can kind of follow along. And they're already kind of positioned in the right location. And another source from Google. So there's a bunch of more detailed images. You'll also notice, of course, these red boxes that indicate the various sites that the studio has provided. And also they indicate at 1/32 of an inch how much area will really be depicting on that page size in that drawing. There's a couple of things that I want to reference, even though you won't have to get obviously site data because it's been provided, and this will be on your assignment sheet too, I believe, in video. So if we go to our internet browser and make a new tab, I'm just going to search for P2a maps. It should be more or less the first result that comes up. It's gis.p2a.gov. And in P2a maps, there's an option that is a few different like kind of resources here. And there's a main one, and that has a lot of the same information. But I'm actually going to go to the SDCP, Northern Desert Conservation Plan, because that has more detailed topography. Second to load. Seconds. All right, so we can kind of zoom into where we're working here between there. Over on the left, we have we have a section. I can just click X here to close this, and then I'll see all my layers, which is great. And I can turn layers on and off. When I turn the labels off, I can also turn parcels off, which is those black lines, and those are the subdivision of individual lots. But you'll also see over here where it says contours, I can expand that. I have a couple options. Down at the bottom, I want to click on this one that says put contours. Fully loading for me, because it's not zoomed in enough. There we go. Go ahead and check that box. And so you can see now I have these red lines that appear, and those are actually the same lines on that base map. But what's nice about this, I'm going to also off my. So I also have the numbers on there that indicate what elevation each contour is. And if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, I can uncheck street base map. You'll see that actually gives me just the layers that indicate topography lines. I can also turn on the topography base map. Maybe a little hard to see with the. That again gives me this kind of shaded grayscale relief of like what the surface ground really looks like. So that greater indication. Okay, but I am just going to use the contours. So I'm actually going to, because I can only get to a certain level of zoom, I might have to do a couple different images here. But basically what I want to do is kind of capture, well, so the other thing you can do, of course, is just zoom in on whichever site you need to get more detailed for. Might be the way to go. I can kind of zoom over to a particular area. Maybe I'll do this one in the middle. There. Center that. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn the base map. What I want it to do is just capture the contour lines. And then when I'm kind of ready, what I'll do in order to make this into an image that I can capture is I'll click up here where it says I want to. I'll go to create printable map. And in here, I have a couple options. I can choose a paper size. I'm going to go to 11 by 17. Actually kind of goes beyond the boundary of my report there, but that's obviously. I can leave it as a PDF, or I can go to JPEG or PNG. I'm actually, and then under resolution, I'm going to go high 250 dpi. That's spectrum there, and then I'll go down here and just click print. And it should take a second or two, and then I'll be able to button it down there. Go file. And that actually did kind of capture everything I needed to. So that's great. And you'll see also when I print it that way, I get a scale, graphic scale, which is great. I'm going to right click on the page, go to save. Also just save that. Okay. And then the best way in Rhino to insert an image, I'll make a new layer and I'm going to call this my topo map. And in Rhino, I'm just going to type in the command sure. And that'll open up a file browser for me. I'll go to downloads and I'll click on that JPEG I just downloaded. Click open. Now what it's going to want me to do is click place the image. I'll have to click twice to scale it. I don't really care what scale it is now. Drop to the side here. Because what I'm going to do right away is just scale it. So I'll select that image, type in scale. And I'll click, kind of as close as I can to this. I'll line it up to my actual second here and just type in the units, 400. Okay. Okay, and then what I can also do here, there was, oh, so make sure it's on my, and to put it on a separate layer. So make sure it's on that separate layer. Okay, so I'm going to try and line it up to this best I can because this has, remember, those same contour lines. And again, what I can do here, that's on the layer just called images. I can lock that layer. Yep. Should be pretty close to the right scale, and I can kind of toggle it. Might be a little bit off. Got it? There we go. So we're going to kind of line it up that way. And that's just an easier thing to trace, basically, so that we can get our topography line. The other thing that I wanted to mention quickly is the other resource that's really great for getting um, like lines for roads and parcels and so on. And this is also on your 201 assignment sheet. If we go back to our browser, and I'm going to go to search for something called OpenStreet. Just this website, openstreetmap.org. But you should get, should be somewhere on the globe, and you can kind of zoom into where your site is, or you can search it. And this is, it's a lot like my maps here, the kind of information you'll get on P2a, a lot like what you might see on like a map version of this. What's nice about this resource here is if, let's say, I wanted to get a map of this region right here, or this area, I can kind of zoom in on that area. And then over on the right, I have this option to share it. So I can also print it, I should say. Export. Nope, sorry. Okay, maybe it's all under share. So if I go to share over here on the right, I'll just click this little share button. So yeah, down here I can actually save it as an image. So just like we did before, I can save it as a PNG or a JPEG or PDF, but I also have this option to save it as an SVG. And what's really nice about that is it'll actually export this map as vector data. So I'll go ahead and click download. Seconds, there's that map. And I'm going to place this kind of somewhere. Right, that's my SVG file right there. I'm going to drag it into Rhino. And you can also type in import on the command line. I'll just click import and okay, make sure you don't click open because that'll close whatever you're working on. I'm going to leave all these options as default. Okay. Now it's in here. I want to go close to where my origin is. In order to find where it is, I'm just going to type in select all. And I'll type in zoom and I'll go to selected. So this is my existing map. I'm going to hold control and select that. Then I'll type in zoom again. Selected. There it is. So it's not at a appropriate scale. You'll see it brings in a bunch of information. So when I select it, for example, I just clicked on one region of this, and it's part of what's called a block. And I know we talked about block is uh, or but basically, I don't really need this to be a block. I'm just going to type in explode. Second there. And then I can delete all these lines. These are just like kind of like boundaries. They're way, way far away from where the actual map is. There we go. Okay. So then this chunk is its own block again. Or I'm sorry, it's actually a group. Group. And so it'll give me like all the lines and from where I ported that image, but you'll see if I zoom in. If I zoom in, I have kind of all the same outlines. I even get a few of the kind of building outlines, whatever available in this resource. Okay, and then I could select everything. And you know, unfortunately, this isn't organized by layer. And then I could, you know, use one of my images and begin to scale it in line. That's kind of the issue with this method, is that getting the scale right is a little bit more tricky. But of course, the benefit is we have all these lines that are already drawn for us. So just like you already have this CAD map, if you were to try to do something like this for a different site, wanted streets, parcels, and stuff like that, this is a really great resource. And obviously, we would need to clean it up. But this is a really great resource to kind of get the lines automatically for us. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of delete this though. Okay. And so that's basically the kind of introduction to the series. So in the next video, I'll zoom into one of these sites. Remember my topo map on, and of course I also have these more detailed aerial images that I can reference, and I will begin to work on more detailed orthographic representation for one of these sites.